I know a lot of kids feel like what's happening? What's happening to the world? But they can't come to grips with where they fit in this world. They can't hardly rent a house. So what does the future look like? In a future that we're talking about, that whole thing changes.
Welcome to What Would Our Kupuna Do? This is Richard Hawes' vlog, where we talk about what we can do today to make Hawaii Island a more sustainable place to live, so our children and grandchildren and their grandchildren won't be priced out of here and will be able to stay in Hawaii and live good lives. Now, Richard, we have talked about your Modern Day Ahupua'a project here before. An ancient Ahupua'a was a pie-shaped land division that Hawaiians used in pre-contact times. So it started at a point in the mountains and it made a pie shape down to the ocean, and it gave an area and its group of people access to all the resources from the mountain down to the sea. Now, today, that sort of idea doesn't really work, but a modern day Ahupua'a, like you're proposing for your land in Pepeekeo, is such an interesting idea.
If you can figure out a way where young people can farm and supply food for the population and they feel proud of what they're doing, that pride carries over throughout the population because, it's not all about money. It's about how you feel inside what you're doing. And if we can make that something that young folks can feel proud of, I think it will solve a lot of our problems going into the future. Land is so expensive that young people can't buy big parcels of land. It's just too expensive. But you could make a living on 5 acres of land if you use high technology. You could make a living 10 acres, 2 acres, 1 acre. And if the person who's now, several years into it and raising kids and that person can see a future for their kids, that would be wonderful.
That would change something that's happening now in that younger people aren't going into farming as much, right?
Just imagine if you could have 3 generations living on the same property. So you start off when the person is 25 years old, let's say, and starts farming. And you have a small house, something like what they do at HPM. You can carry the house right to the site and put it up, and it's a real small house. But when you're starting off, it's all you need. Then as you get bigger, from the rent you save, because, normally you'd be paying $1,500 or more a month in rent. And even worse, if you're trying to purchase a house, it's so expensive. But if you start with a small house, then you've got money that you're building up. Then you could build a bigger house. Now, with that small house that you were in to start off with, if we could allow the farmer to rent that house to visitors who want to come and see farm and stuff like that, what it would do is add another income stream for the farmer while teaching people what's going on. And then when the farmer gets old enough to move back into that house, you make a place where you can have 3 generations living on the same property to perpetuate the farming exercise, the endeavor, keep it going for future generations. Because we really should do something like this so that people can have a generational connection to the land instead of being, oh, you can't afford it, you got to go someplace else, the care home or someplace else. There's no continuity. But then, of course, our elected officials have got to be able to look at that and say, maybe this has some merit to it. You might want to say, okay, modern day Ahupua'a. It depends on where you are on the island because what you're going to grow depends on what's the soil, if any. It may be lava, elevation. There's many different aspects that would favor different crops. For example, papayas would be different from a place where you would grow root crops, for example.
That's a great idea.
I think, everything we can possibly do to deliberately foster the idea of multi-generation farming. You can see doing something. And what can be more important than feeding people?
Right,
Yeah.
right. So I guess that would take policy changes though, right? To allow
Yes.
that kind. So
Yes.
is that something that's being discussed? Can that happen? What do you think about that?
Oh, I think it can happen. Absolutely. What we need to do is we need to have a demonstration model. We need to articulate what we're trying to do.
Right.
And we need to get a lot of people's support, because that's what the politicians will do, what the people want. So that's the funny thing. We've got this Sampan bus that we're going to have on the road within a month. And what we're going to do is use that as a way of focusing attention on our project.
That's great. That's great. So that's part of your modern day Ahupua'a is to have a setup like that, right? Where there's a multi-generational family setup.
So, because I went to school for accounting because I wanted to be able to keep score, I understand that we don't have the advantages of the Midwest, for example, flat land, so you can have really giant tractors and stuff like that. We don't have that. Our land is up and down and, very uneven. So how do we combat that? And the way to do that is to have multiple income streams. So if you have multiple income streams, you get more resilience. So now we got to be clever as to how that income stream works and how we use technology. Because the more technology we use, the more production per square foot we get. It's just a matter of trying to put all these different possibilities together.
It's such a great vision. I can really see it. And it sort of sounds obvious when you suggest all these pieces, but it's not obvious at all because we would be doing that if it were obvious. But it's just such a terrific idea. I guess now what it takes is, like you said, all these little parts and figuring out how to make them work. What we're going to talk more about today is partnerships with other people who see the vision and have the ability to work with you.
I had breakfast with Emily Emmons just a few days ago, and it didn't take 5 minutes to realize, wow, we're talking the same story. She's focused on military and veteran farming. Emily Emmons is the leader of Huola Farms. Her husband was in the war, and he had a bad effects from the war. So she's very sensitive to that. So when she went to a meeting where they were talking about this big idea on the mainland, she realized that this is something that she would love to do. This is several years, at least 5 years ago.
And what was the big idea?
Was to do something in Hawaii to enable veterans to farm, teach them how to farm, bring the stuff together at a certified kitchen, and then distribute food to veterans, which, they've been doing through Puna Hongwanji. They have a certified kitchen right now. And just today, I drove by where Miko Meats used to be, Kekuanaoa. Well, they leased the building. And what they're doing is they're consolidating. They had two different places where they were having people come to pick up food. So now they're going to use this place as a consolidation area. They've got two vans, and they'll take them out to the site ready to distribute. And they're going to start doing that tomorrow for the first time. I told her what we're doing. I could see the wheels turning in her brain. She was thinking, oh, how can we work together? Actually, tomorrow I go take her down to the farm so that she can see that we have the basics on the farm. There's an infrastructure, water, we've got springs, and then I got a quote from a person who can build that concrete encasement so that we can have clean water going downhill to various different people who want to farm. So all of this stuff is brand new. And what we decide on, we'll have to kind of vet it and see what would work. But really exciting because there's so many different possibilities.
Yeah. So you told me she's working with the food basket, right? Which is Hawaii Island's food bank.
Yeah.
That's part of how she's doing her project. And that she was really excited in your Modern Day Ahupua'a project and wants to see if there's some way that you guys could work together. What might that look like? Do you have any idea?
Well, first of all, it would be several organizations working together. Like, for example, they're focusing on veterans, yeah? So teaching veterans how to farm and as well as giving food out so veterans can get food. Okay. But just several weeks ago, I was up at Pohakuloa with the Army folks, and we were talking about a culturally aware way of taking care of the land. Sitting next to me was my neighbor who's in charge of the Hawaii Island Emergency Management. He's a National Guard person. And what he's trying to do is trying to figure out how to do a commissary on this island because we don't have a commissary where veterans can go and buy stuff. But this is a natural fit, yeah? Here we are talking about Pohakuloa, talking to commanders up there, talking to Emily. She's doing that kind of stuff. So all of a sudden now we've got 3 organizations working together when there was only one. There were individual people not working together. This is the first time we're going to get together to try to make something bigger. And that's just only one subject, yeah? So what we're going to try to do is try to engage with other nonprofits to see if what we do resonates with them. And then we'll partner on the things we can agree on and make this a broader based approach. Yeah? Our objective is to make life better for future generations. And if that resonates with people from however, then we're going to see how we can support each other on legislation, various different things that can get our message out.
Yeah, that's terrific. And then you've got the land where you can kind of set these demonstration projects up and see how they play out. And what you're doing with this Modern Day Ahupua'a is all about how we're going to feed people here in Hawaii and not be so dependent on imported food and energy that keeps going up in costs and all that. So we hear so much talk about that, but it's so amazing to actually hear a real plan and someone that's moving toward something real versus just talk. So I really salute you for that.
Well, people, they do their day-to-day job, and what they can do has to do with who's running the show. So there are things they cannot do while they're actually working. But when they're off, when they're not working, they can write a letter to their legislator. That would be a tremendous help. So we're trying to engage people so that they can do two things at once.
What should they write that letter about? What should that letter say?
What we're reaching for is a special ag zoning, let's say. What has just happened is that they had a selection committee for the next CTAR, College of Tropical Ag and Human Resources school at the University of Hawaii. And that person is going to be coming on board March 1st, just a few days from now. And I sat in on 3 of the candidates when they came in and they gave us presentations, and I asked a whole bunch of questions. The person that was selected is, I don't know how to pronounce this. I'm sorry, but his name is Parwindi Grewal. And when we talked to him, he was very open to the college CTAR, helping farmers do exactly what we're talking about, using technology, because we got away from that. I don't know what happened, but we were focused on farming, and then all of a sudden we weren't. And now we have a chance of getting back to it in a real serious way with this new dean. So I'm really looking forward. As a matter of fact, we're organizing to have a meeting with him real soon. Yeah, and I'm real optimistic because when I heard him talk, I was impressed.
Well, that sounds great, Richard. Thank you. Thanks everyone for watching. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode of What Would Our Kupuna Do? Mahalo for watching, and ahui ho.
Okay, aloha everybody.